Stop. Listen carefully. Your family's financial struggle is not a life sentence. It is a pattern, and patterns can be broken. If this message found you today, it is not random. The universe runs on structure, on timing, on cycles within cycles. And Pluto has now fully anchored itself in Aquarius. Not visiting, not testing the waters, anchored. This is generational. You have felt it, haven't you? That quiet frustration. That sense that no matter how hard you work, there is an invisible ceiling. That even when money comes in, something pulls it back out. That guilt when you dare to want more than your parents had. That fear of being too ambitious. That voice whispering, people like us don't become wealthy. That voice is not yours. It is the ancestral echo of survival. For over 2 centuries, humanity has lived under systems built during the late 1700s and early industrial age. Hierarchies, bosses, scarcity structures. The belief that power flows downward and you must earn permission to rise. Pluto's long transit through Capricorn reinforced those themes: corporate control, rigid authority, climb the ladder survival. But now the architecture is dissolving. Pluto in Aquarius is not here to help you climb the old ladder. It is here to dismantle it. Aquarius does not believe poverty is destiny. Aquarius sees poverty as a systemic glitch, a solvable design flaw. And Pluto, the planet of deep transformation, is applying pressure at the root level. This is the great unbinding, the collapse of inherited fear structures that have governed your family tree. Somewhere in your lineage there were ancestors who lived through famine, war, economic collapse, industrial exploitation. They learned one rule: survive. Don't stand out. Don't challenge the system. Blend in. Stay small. Be grateful for scraps. And those survival codes were passed down, not just through stories, but through behavior, through nervous systems, through subtle conditioning. Maybe you grew up hearing things like, money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Just get a stable job. Don't take risks. Those phrases are not financial advice. They are trauma responses. Pluto in Aquarius is exposing them. Right now, you may feel restless. You may feel impatient with structures that once felt secure. You may feel called toward innovation, technology, networks, ideas that your parents wouldn't understand. This is not rebellion for the sake of rebellion. This is evolutionary correction. Capricorn energy trained you to fear the boss. Aquarius energy teaches you to become sovereign within a network, to collaborate rather than submit, to design rather than obey. But here is the test. Pluto does not transform gently. You may see old financial systems wobble. You may witness layoffs, restructurings, technological disruptions. You may feel temporarily destabilized. This phase is not about panic. It is about perception. The universe is watching how you respond, not how fast you move. If you cling to outdated structures out of fear, you reinforce the old loop. If you observe, adapt, and think long-term, you align with a new frequency. The ancestral ghost of scarcity shows up in specific psychological symptoms. Let me name them so you can recognize them. Overworking to prove worth, undervaluing your skills, fear of visibility, avoiding opportunities that would elevate you, self-sabotage when income increases, guilt when you surpass family milestones, These are not character flaws. They are inherited defense mechanisms, but they are no longer required. Aquarius asks a radical question. What if your lineage did not survive all that struggle for you to continue surviving? What if they endured so you could innovate? Feel that. You are not betraying your ancestors by thriving. You are fulfilling their unspoken hope. Right now, February 2026, the cosmic window is open. Pluto's permanence in Aquarius marks the beginning of a 20-year era that will restructure wealth, power, and community on a global scale. But transformation does not begin globally. It begins privately. In you, this phase is not about reckless action. It is about conscious detachment from inherited fear. Observe your reactions around money this month. Notice where your body tightens. Notice where you shrink. Do not judge it. Witness it. That witnessing alone weakens the ghost. Something quiet is aligning. Opportunities may not look traditional. Wealth may not come through familiar channels. Aquarius governs networks, digital systems, decentralized models, intellectual property. The wealth of this era flows through connection and innovation, not hierarchy. You are being invited to shift from how do I survive to how do I design? And here is the truth that may unsettle you. You are the bridge generation, the one who feels the weight, the one who senses something must change, the one who cannot unsee the dysfunction. Bridge generations often feel alone, misunderstood, too progressive for their family, too grounded for fantasy, standing between worlds. But bridges are not weak. They are engineered for pressure. If you feel tension in your life right now, it is because old timelines are collapsing while new ones are forming. This is not chaos. It is restructuring. Avoid comparison during this phase. Avoid rushing into flashy investments or ego-driven decisions. Pluto tests motives. If your desire for wealth comes from proving someone wrong, it will exhaust you. If it comes from building sovereignty and service, it will sustain you. This phase isn't about action. It's about recalibration. The unbinding has begun. In the next chapter, we will go deeper. We will talk about the genetic code of lack, about epigenetics, nervous system memory, and how this Aquarian frequency is acting like a solvent on inherited trauma. Because this is not just psychological, it is biological, and you are right on time. If this is resonating, stay with me. The next layer will change how you see your entire family history. Take a breath with me, because what we are about to discuss is deeper than mindset, deeper than motivation, deeper than positive thinking. This is cellular. For years, science has been quietly confirming something mystics have always known. Trauma is inherited, not just emotionally, biologically. Through epigenetics, your ancestors' experiences influenced how certain genes were expressed in their bodies, and those patterns were passed forward. If your great-grandparents lived through famine, war, displacement, or crushing industrial labor, their nervous systems adapted. Hypervigilance, resource hoarding, distrust of authority, fear of standing out. These were not personality traits. They were survival codes, and those codes did not disappear. They were handed down. This is the poverty code, not a curse, not a punishment, a survival imprint. But here is where February 2026 becomes pivotal. Pluto in Aquarius is not simply changing governments or technology. It is activating a collective psychological revolution. Aquarius governs networks, electricity, innovation, the nervous system itself. Pluto governs death and rebirth at the root. When these forces combine, they create pressure on outdated biological patterns. You may feel it as anxiety without a clear source, sudden awareness of how you relate to money, a desire to break free from habits that once felt normal, an irritation with just getting by, a refusal to shrink. That is not rebellion, that is reprogramming. For generations, the survival mechanism was simple: blend in to stay safe. Don't be too visible. Don't earn too much. Don't threaten the hierarchy. Safety came from conformity. But Aquarius does not reward blending in. Aquarius rewards innovation. The mandate has shifted from blend in to stay safe to innovate to stay sovereign. And sovereignty requires nervous system recalibration. You might notice that when you think about charging more for your work, your heart races. When you consider launching something new, your stomach tightens. When you imagine surpassing your parents financially, guilt appears. That is epigenetic memory speaking. Pluto is bringing it to the surface not to punish you, but to dissolve it. This is the biological solvent effect. Pluto's energy intensifies whatever is hidden. Aquarius electrifies it. Together they expose the inherited fear embedded in your body so it can be released consciously instead of passed unconsciously. But here is the part most people misunderstand. Transformation is uncomfortable because the body confuses growth with danger. Your ancestors survived by avoiding risk. So when you step toward visibility, wealth, or independence, your body reacts as if you are stepping toward exile. That reaction is ancient, and you are the one chosen to interrupt it. Yes, chosen. Not randomly. Not accidentally. Every lineage produces a bridge generation, the ones who feel both the old pain and the new possibility, the ones who question, the ones who refuse to accept that's just how it is. You may have always felt different in your family, more curious, more ambitious, more restless. Perhaps you were told you were too much or too idealistic. That difference is your assignment. You are carrying the transformation for 7 generations forward. That is not poetic exaggeration. In both indigenous wisdom and modern epigenetic research, it is understood that profound shifts ripple outward across multiple future generations. What you heal, your descendants do not have to. Feel the magnitude of that. Right now, in this Aquarian era, you are not just building income. You are recalibrating a lineage. But this phase is not about frantic action. It is about conscious awareness. Here is what is being tested: your reaction to discomfort. When old scarcity fears arise, do you collapse into them? Or do you observe them? When opportunities require innovation, do you default to that's risky? Or do you ask, what is the intelligent way to structure this? Pluto rewards depth. Aquarius rewards vision. Avoid extremes during this phase. Avoid get-rich-quick schemes. Avoid impulsive rebellion against structure. Aquarius is progressive, but it is not chaotic. It is strategic freedom. Something quietly aligning right now is collective intelligence. Communities built around shared ideas. Digital ecosystems. intellectual property, network-based collaboration. The future of wealth is less about physical inheritance and more about intellectual sovereignty. Your ancestors fought for land. You are learning to leverage information. This is evolution. And yet the old guilt may whisper, "Who do you think you are?" That voice is not spiritual humility. It is inherited limitation. True humility in this era means honoring your potential without arrogance and without shrinking. Let me speak directly to the part of you that fears surpassing your parents. You are not abandoning them by rising. You are completing their struggle. They operated within the structures available to them. You are operating within a new architecture. Aquarius dissolves the idea that loyalty means limitation. Loyalty now means elevation. If your nervous system feels stretched lately, sleep patterns shifting, heightened awareness, sudden clarity about career changes, understand that this is part of recalibration. Pluto's transformation is slow but irreversible. Aquarius is forward-looking. Together, they are rewiring your internal compass. But patience is required. This phase is not about explosive growth overnight. It is about stable restructuring. The universe is watching how you build, not how loudly you announce. Notice the invisible scripts around money you absorbed as a child. Did you hear arguments about bills? Did you internalize stress around spending? Did you learn that security equals obedience? Write those scripts down. See them. Once seen, they lose their invisibility. Then ask a new question. What would a sovereign belief sound like? Perhaps it sounds like money is a tool for impact. Wealth can be ethical. Innovation creates opportunity. Visibility is safe. Success is sustainable. Aquarius beliefs are expansive, but grounded in systems thinking. You are not meant to escape the system. You are meant to redesign your position within it. And here is a quiet, prophetic insight. The next few years will reward those who build skills around technology, networks, intellectual assets, and collaborative ventures. The lone wolf archetype is fading. The intelligent network builder is rising. Do not isolate. Connect strategically, because what is dissolving is the old genetic code of lack, and what is emerging is a lineage of creators, designers, and sovereign thinkers. But before you can fully step into that identity, there is one more barrier to confront: loyalty to struggle. In the next chapter, we will shatter the unconscious guilt of outgrowing the old narrative. We will dismantle the starving artist, the humble worker archetype, and the fear of being the outlier. Because breaking the cycle requires courage, and courage is being quietly cultivated within you right now. There is something no one talks about when it comes to breaking generational patterns. It is not just fear that keeps people small. It is loyalty. Loyalty to the struggle. Loyalty to the identity of hardworking but never ahead. Loyalty to the unspoken family rule that says we endure. We don't exceed. And this is where Pluto in Aquarius is applying pressure right now, because this transit is not only dismantling external systems, it is exposing the emotional contracts you made in childhood. Somewhere along the way, you absorb this silent agreement: if I rise too far, I leave them behind. So you unconsciously cap yourself. You hesitate to charge your full value. You downplay your ambitions. You choose stability over expansion, even when your soul is restless. And then you wonder why abundance feels blocked. This is the loyalty to struggle. Your parents may not have said, "Don't surpass us." But if they struggled, sacrificed, and defined their identity through endurance, your nervous system learned that love equals shared hardship. So wealth can feel like betrayal. Read that again slowly. Wealth can feel like betrayal. Pluto's role is to excavate this guilt. Aquarius' role is to liberate you from it. You are not meant to replicate your ancestors' pain to prove respect. You are meant to evolve beyond it. But evolution requires separation from outdated archetypes. For generations, certain identities protected your lineage. The starving artist who suffers for integrity. The humble worker who keeps their head down. The loyal employee who never questions authority. These archetypes once ensured safety. In industrial economies, survival required conformity. Questioning the system meant exclusion. Standing out meant risk. But Aquarius does not thrive under obedience. Aquarius thrives under innovation. The archetypes that once protected you are now ceilings. This is why you may feel tension in your career, irritation with rigid structures, a quiet knowing that you are capable of more. You may feel drawn toward building something of your own, even if you cannot fully see the blueprint yet. This is not ego. This is alignment. But here is the test Pluto is presenting. Can you rise without resentment? It is easy to reject the old narrative angrily, to blame your family, to mock their limitations. That is not transformation. That is reaction. True liberation honors the past while refusing to repeat it. Avoid contempt. Avoid superiority. Those are distortions of Aquarius energy. They disconnect you from the very network that will support your growth. Instead, practice conscious expansion. If guilt arises when you imagine earning more than your parents ever did, sit with it. Do not suppress it. Ask yourself, who taught me that success equals separation? You may realize it was never explicitly stated. It was implied through tone, through stories, through subtle tension. That awareness is the crack in the wall. Right now, globally, we are witnessing the collapse of purely scarcity-based community models. The old belief that resources are limited and must be guarded is being challenged by technological networks that expand access. Aquarius governs decentralization, peer-to-peer systems, collective intelligence, shared innovation. The wealth model is shifting from climb above others to build with others. But this requires rewiring your community mindset. If you were raised in an environment where success was rare, competition may feel safer than collaboration. You may subconsciously distrust people who are doing well. That distrust is inherited. In this era, isolation will stall you. Intelligent connection will elevate you. The new abundance model is networked. It leverages ideas, technology, and shared resources. It is less about individual hustle and more about strategic ecosystems. And this is where another archetype must dissolve: hustle as identity. Many lineages survived through relentless labor. Work equaled worth. Exhaustion equaled virtue. Pluto in Aquarius is dismantling this equation. You may already feel it. Burnout no longer feels noble. Overworking feels misaligned. Your body resists endless grind. That resistance is wisdom. The new inheritance is not fatigue. It is sovereignty. But sovereignty demands responsibility. You cannot blame your lineage forever. At some point, awareness becomes accountability. What is being tested right now is emotional maturity around wealth. Can you pursue expansion without demonizing the past? Can you innovate without rejecting structure entirely? Can you build without abandoning integrity? This phase isn't about speed. It's about stability. Do not make dramatic financial moves to prove you have broken free. That is ego reacting to pressure. Pluto sees through performance. Instead, refine your strategy quietly. Strengthen your skills. Study systems. Observe technological trends. Invest in knowledge. Aquarius rewards intelligence. Something quietly aligning is the normalization of alternative wealth pathways, digital assets, intellectual property, community-funded ventures, decentralized systems. These are not trends. They are structural shifts. But before you engage them, you must release the guilt of outgrowing the old script. Let me speak directly to you. If you surpass your parents financially, you are not erasing them. You are expanding the family narrative. If you build wealth differently than they did, you are not disrespecting their effort. You are updating the method. If you become the outlier, you are not abandoning your roots. You are strengthening them. You are the one who sees beyond survival. And yes, being the outlier can feel lonely. Bridge generations often stand in silence for a while. They outgrow certain conversations. They feel misunderstood. They are called different. But different is not disconnected. It is directional. Pluto in Aquarius is carving out a new identity for you, one that is not defined by struggle, but by design. Yet the final piece of this transformation requires a shift in how you define inheritance itself. Because in the Aquarian age, inheritance is no longer land, gold, or status alone. It is knowledge. It is networks. It is digital sovereignty. It is nervous system regulation. It is the absence of inherited fear. In the next chapter, we will explore technological sovereignty as the new inheritance. We will discuss how your nervous system is being rewired away from hustle, culture, and toward sustainable, community-driven security. And we will begin constructing the blueprint for a new dynasty. Because you are not just breaking a cycle, you are architecting a future. Now we arrive at the turning point. You have unbound the ancestral scarcity. You have examined the genetic code of lack. You have confronted the loyalty to struggle. Now comes the responsibility. Pluto in Aquarius is not only dismantling, it is designing. As we are standing at the early foundation of a 20-year restructuring of power, wealth, and inheritance. And here is what most people still misunderstand. The new inheritance is not primarily physical. It is intellectual. It is technological. It is relational. It is energetic. For centuries, families passed down land, gold, titles, or businesses rooted in geography. Aquarius shifts inheritance into networks and systems that are decentralized. Ideas that scale, intellectual property that multiplies, digital ecosystems that outlive individual lifespans. This is not fantasy. It is structural evolution. But before you can build external assets, you must stabilize internal sovereignty. Your nervous system is the first territory. For generations, hustle culture replaced survival farming and factory labor. Work harder, sleep less, push through. Exhaustion became a badge of honor. But Pluto in Aquarius is dissolving the identity of I suffer, therefore I am worthy. You may feel this in subtle ways. Your body resisting burnout. Your mind craving smarter systems instead of longer hours. A pull toward automation, delegation, collaboration. This is not laziness. This is advancement. Aquarius governs intelligent systems. It asks, how can this function without draining the individual? The future of wealth is not about sacrificing your life force. It is about structuring assets that support life, community-driven assets, decentralized finance, digital intellectual capital, cooperative ventures, network leverage. This is technological sovereignty, but sovereignty requires discernment. Avoid blind hype. Avoid chasing every trend. Aquarius is innovative, but Pluto demands depth. Study before you invest. Understand before you scale. The universe is not rewarding impulsivity during this phase. It is rewarding strategic builders. This phase isn't about loud announcements. It's about quiet architecture. And here is something profound to understand. Your descendants will not remember every decision you make. They will remember the environment you created. If you regulate your nervous system around money, they inherit calm. If you detach worth from struggle, they inherit freedom. If you build networks instead of walls, they inherit opportunity. That is dynasty work. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a child in your lineage 50 years from now. They move through the world without inherited fear around money. They see innovation as normal. They collaborate naturally. They do not carry the tension you carried. That future begins with the habits you anchor now. So here is the protocol. First, identify the invisible scripts your ancestors wrote about money. Money is scarce. We are not business people. Security comes from authority. Write them down. Second, consciously overwrite them. Replace money is scarce with value can be created. Replace we are not business people with we are builders in evolving systems. Replace security comes from authority with security comes from skill and network. Third, align your daily behavior with these new scripts. Learn emerging technologies. Strengthen financial literacy. Cultivate high-integrity collaborations. Prioritize rest and nervous system regulation. Wealth built from dysregulation collapses. Wealth built from clarity compounds. Fourth, avoid ego inflation. Aquarius can become detached and superior if unchecked. Remember, the goal is sovereignty, not dominance. Collaboration, not control. Pluto will test your integrity. If you chase wealth solely for validation, instability will follow. If you pursue sovereignty with service and structure, longevity will follow. What is being tested right now is patience. This is a long transit. Transformation is layered. There will be moments when old fears resurface. Do not interpret that as failure. It is simply deeper layers dissolving. The universe is watching how you respond, not how fast you accumulate. Something quietly aligning in 2026 is collective restructuring, industries evolving, remote networks strengthening, AI and digital tools amplifying intellectual output. The individuals who thrive will not be the loudest. They will be the most adaptable. You are not here to react to change. You are here to design within it. And here is the final shift. You are no longer a victim of your history. You are the architect of what follows. Your ancestors survived eras of rigidity so that you could live in an era of reinvention. Do not dishonor their endurance by repeating their fear. Honor them by expanding. Let your wealth be ethical. Let your innovation be intelligent. Let your ambition be regulated. Let your networks be authentic. This is not about becoming rich overnight. It is about becoming structurally sovereign over decades. And one day, your lineage will look back at this Aquarian era and say, that was the turning point. That was when the ceiling shattered. That was when survival became sovereignty. Right now, breathe in this moment. Feel the weight lifting. The pattern was never permanent. The struggle was never sacred. The ceiling was never solid. You are right on time. If this message found you, it is because you are ready to build differently. Subscribe to Celestial Insight if you are committed to conscious architecture in this new era. Share this with someone who is meant to be the bridge in their family. And remember, the universe runs on structure and timing. This moment will make sense later,